Okay, back with the final episode of Expedition 33. I'm going to go fight Golgra real quick since I never got around to doing that. Imagine that's going to be trivial, probably, but that's okay. I think we just have the final dungeon after that, right?
Flash through the sky.
This way. Impenetrable terrain. Pretty funny to only ever use the, like, super serious main story costume and then switch to this for the ending, but... Hey, Bucky, how you doing?
Cut him down.
Alright. It's been a while since I played, so it might take me a second to get my sea legs back here. I think it cost me 5 to do follow-up. 4. Grandiose Chroma Catalyst. Sakura. Okay, so if you fight her again, nothing special from that, I assume. Can't lose perfection. Oh, okay, it was one I already had. They give me this silly outfit for everybody or just for Verso? It's kind of funny just giving it to Verso. I love the, like, mullet. Great. Oh, is that actually a haircut? I guess, let's see, do they all get a haircut? Even better. Gonna look super serial at the end. One enemy attack during this stream. Bosses occasionally got to attack before. I'm gonna be like just short of level 99. Okay.
Flashing through the sky.
Going to the Eiffel Tower. Oh, I see. It must be tough to get a Goldilocks fight against Golgra. So I'm guessing she's not balanced to be fought before break damage limit, but also you go from, like, breaking the damage limit to annihilating everything pretty quickly. So I wonder when you'd have to fight. I mean, I probably should have fought her when I did Sprong, It would have been hard. I would have had to learn all of her crazy combos, but I think it could have been doable. I guess the big issue is that if I tried to do it when I beat Sprong, I wouldn't get my shields because you don't actually get to fight her. You don't like bring in your allies and then they die and
Wait
give you
first.
shields, right?
It's dangerous for you near Papa.
Audio balance okay, by the way?
We'll have to move fast. I can't maintain them for very long.
Okay, thanks. I think a fast retry would have been nice. The main reason I really didn't want to spend a lot of time on learning Simon is just that, like, the time to get back to the thing I needed to practice would be really, really long, and it would all be for, like, 2 frames of
Tomorrow
practice, right?
comes.
That's cool. Excited for the music already. Everybody's helping now. That's our flag.
Useful.
Did I even have any outstanding stuff to equip here? Let's see. Wait, when do you get a full heal? God damn it. So annoying. I'm not gonna be able to get him low on health again unless if it lets me leave. Hold on. Sorry, I'll be right back. I have to go commit suicide. Oh, is this the issue with the auto res? That's what it was. Okay, hold on. I guess we just unequip that for now. I guess I have to like unequip it and then re-equip it. It's not called auto life, right? It's called like second chance.
Flash through the sky. Here we go.
It's true.
Hang on tight.
There we go. So get rid of auto death. Re-equip second chance. And then save.
Flash through the sky.
Keep overshooting the entrance. I want to give him anything else. I don't think anything else matters, honestly. That's useful, I guess. Probably won't be base attacking anymore, but... How did I not have that equipped? That's concerning. That was a really important thing to not have equipped. So I guess with Feint, start each turn. Okay, it wasn't start the battle with it. That would be kind of interesting. Shield affinities may be useful, but I think sniper was another one I needed. Okay. Glad I double checked.
These expeditioners are glorious wreakers of havoc.
The sword of Lumière.
I wonder if they literally just reused the SKA flying animation and just applied it to human-sized characters. What it looks like. It's pretty funny. No, just didn't have to attack.
Nice. That time I didn't have to attack.
An advantage.
There's one more journal that I'm missing that's in here somewhere, right? Perfectly normal trash can. Surprised they don't let you re-challenge that mime from the beginning of the game when you come here. The missable one.
I'll manage.
Well, that will help.
Oh, it's cool. There's like dynamic music changes. One of these ways is progress. I remember this from the very beginning. Lumière is nice because it feels like an actually designed like zone. Doesn't feel like they like procedurally generated a map and then built decorations on top of it. That music's too exciting. That must be progress. I think that's what I'm gonna end up going with as my assumption for why the game is like this, that most of the maps are procedurally generated. Maybe not, you know, using any kind of generative AI junk, just like traditional procedural generation tools. And that they just like outsourced people to put art on top of that, and there's a bunch of problems that result from that. And it feels especially weird because the rest of it is also like polished looking, so it's not as obvious as it would be in, you know, like a Diablo or something, right? That kind of typical game that uses procedurally generated environments. Because then they're like presented as authored, and like they definitely like did authored placement of items and stuff in the map after that. I'm at a point where like I would need to be presented with like really compelling evidence that that's not what they did to believe otherwise.
Oh, wow.
2 AP on applying powerful would just give me more AP at combat start, so it's kind of useless. It's a creation, right? Maybe I'm not allowed to hit it from here. The Gestural Village... I don't know. I feel like the whole opening is like they're trying to go for a very specific game feel with like what you see in the order in which you see it, right? I thought about this. I went to Nintendo World, and Nintendo World does that kind of like classic 3D game, like Dark Souls forced vista thing where you like walk through the warp pipe and you come out the other side and there's like this like very sharp gateway where you're forced to see Nintendo World framed by the doorway as you walk out. It's really cool. And I feel like that like almost never happens in this game. You think it would happen all the time. Yeah, the opening being a hallway means that they kind of have to design it, right? I think assuming that they procedurally generated the skeletons for all the maps and then inserted art on top of it is probably the kindest thing I can say about it, because that kind of absolves them of a lot. It's actually much worse if it's like completely authored and it's like this. You know what I mean?
What have we here?
Then they're committing like dozens or hundreds of sins instead of committing one kind of sin from which all the other problems descend.
Critical improvise.
Did you just give me a level 16 weapon in the final area? I do like seeing the little chroma guys fighting the monsters. Nice touch. I get what they were going for with that.
Let's carve a path.
Oh, lovely.
Your father. He's at the tower.
Yes.
My own.
Nope.
Lovely.
I had that one. I already switched to... No. I still don't have enough AP to get things set up back on stats. Yeah, right. I think it's like, I haven't changed outfits ever, but I feel like what the game has done in Act 3, it's pretty thematically appropriate, to be honest.
What have we here?
I think it's kind of laughing at Simon, right? Or not Simon, Renoir.
Nice.
Which is this is the canon costume for the final dungeon, in my opinion. You kind of seen this version of this sort of story a million times, right? Like the lucid dreamer, or like the child artist unleashes their like inner joy as the final weapon. Yeah. I think it fits thematically. I guess I could see that upsetting people. So there's people who are upset about the Act 3 twist. I disagree. I think that's like completely on brand for the direction the story was going at that point, and I think it's also like heavily foreshadowed. Like, just the fact that the villain's name is the Paintress, you're like, okay, our main characters are fictional. Got it, right? But it definitely feels like the exact sort of story beat that's like precision designed to irritate the sort of frustrating canon-obsessed nerd who represents, unfortunately, a pretty big contingent in the JRPG fandom.
Lovely.
I'll manage.
Yeah, I love the SKA, because it's the same animation SKA does when he flies.
An advantage.
I have a lot of chips on my shoulder when it comes to media literacy, but I think like obsession with canonicity and like power scaling and stuff is like pretty high on the list. I hate that shit so much. It's so frustrating.
Good stuff. The Opera House. Nice.
It's a journal. I love when games do the thing where they like kind of fade to black and imply that they made an animation that they didn't make.
William, Expedition 60. They mocked us when we said the human body is the strongest of them all. We trained relentlessly, and now our bodies have achieved the pinnacle of human performance, with which we are able to crush our enemies. We are so much more agile and aerodynamic without the heavy uniforms constraining our glorious muscles. With Leslie's unstoppable training regime, we are impervious. That's how we were able to charge through that ghostly Gamage barrier and reach the Paintress. But it seems we've been wrong about what she is. The Paintress is just as trapped as we. The real terror lies beneath the monolith. The rest of Expedition 60 marched on to confront him, Well, I was tasked to warn Lumière, but it seems I might have run out of time. One last swim separates me from Lumière, but even with my mighty muscles, I don't know if I can outswim the Gamage.
Bare naked muscles will save the world.
So here I write my final message. Bare naked muscles will save the world. And don't waste time on the paintress. Aim for the bottom of the monolith.
Yeah, power scaling is just kind of a media thing where you obsess over like the relative strengths between characters, who should be able to beat who, whether they're going to be able to beat them trivially or they're going to have to output effort or whatever. Like, it's relevant. There's lots of kinds of stories where like the relative power between characters is important for building the drama, but there's people who have like taken that as a means to an end. Like that is the one thing that they enjoy about media. And it gets really stupid really fast. That's pretty funny. I don't think that's particularly relevant to Expedition 33. I mean, I guess you could see people getting annoyed by like, well, how powerful? Like, why is it that when you fight Renoir the first time and he kills Gustav, he's like unbeatable, but when you fight him the second time, he's like, that's the narrative purpose of the scene. Like, the stats don't actually matter. None of that's real. You know what I mean? When we fight Renoir the first time and he kills Gustav, the purpose is to be overwhelmed by how powerful he is, right? Like, and they accomplish that mechanically. Yeah, that would be a good example. Why doesn't Golgra just kill Renoir? Shut up is the correct answer to that.
Perfect.
Yeah, right. I think the part of power scaling that's interesting is what professional wrestling has like tapped into so closely, right? Where what they're mostly interested in is like selling the audience on the relative threat of a given wrestler, right? So if you have like the most threatening wrestler of all time, and then you're trying to introduce a new wrestler and get the audience to believe that they're scary, you have the new wrestler beat the shit out of the scariest, most powerful wrestler, right? And you're like, oh shit. We just spent, 20 hours watching Goku struggle to defeat Frieza, and then future Trunks showed up and killed Frieza in one hit. Wow, Trunks must be really strong, right? And then Trunks is like, but this really bad thing's gonna happen, and I can't deal with it because I'm not strong enough. And you're like, wow, whatever this thing that Trunks can't deal with must be really bad, right? That's like, there's narrative utility in it. It's not like completely pointless, but it's when people start just like replacing, the emotional core, the themes, the meaning of stories with just that power scaling stuff that it gets stupid. The wizard did it, yeah.
Useful.
Looks like the music cut out. It's kind of a sad time to get that bug, but what are you gonna do?
What have we here?
Right. Yeah. The instant you start asking, can Goku beat Superman? Like, and to be fair, like that, it's fine to ask that question if you're just like fucking around, having fun. Like, it's fun to say like, well, Sailor Moon is the most powerful character of all time because definitionally she always wins, right? Or Bugs Bunny can't lose because he has the most powerful thing of all, the Toon Force. Like, whatever. As long as we're just being silly with it. I'm not saying that those kinds of discussions are like fundamentally invalid to have.
Maximum damage.
Yeah, it can be stupid brackets positive, exactly. Stupid brackets complimentary.
Wow, wow.
Oh, that was weird. Pictos already owned. Converted to Chroma. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. I guess because I had the higher level version of it.
Mael,
Let's go.
Yeah, The Rock is driving a licensed supercar.
Good stuff.
Vittu savagina piga monosek.
Cut him down.
Battle music still works at least.
Go back.
Full strength. I think that's worse than the 1 health thing, but I'll double check.
We're up.
It's called Death's Door. Yeah. Hey, Serp, how you doing?
Papa is somewhere past the gardens.
You don't want to hear me sing. Literally Saved by the Bells.
an advantage.
You get the main motif here. Dee 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 dee. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I appreciate that, Chaos. Thanks.
I can't sustain the expeditioners much longer.
Ned, we need to defeat them fast.
You're super awesome. Thanks for your resub. 107 months is nuts. Adding music.
Time to end this.
What have we here?
Oh no, it cut out again even though it was really good music. God damn it. What a frustrating bug. I wonder what causes that. I think it maybe only happens in areas that have the scripted music changes, maybe. I think that's the kind of song that needs to play through battles, though. I love Nobuo Uematsu. He's probably my favorite game composer. But I think it's really important that the Square devs always understood which of his songs were big enough bangers that they needed to play through battles and like interrupt the victory fanfare, right? Like part of the reason Bombing Mission fucks so hard is that it just keeps playing. Yeah, You're Not Alone, great song. Only great song because it plays through battles. No, the rainbow flying is overpowering the gloomy piano.
Your father's been extra inspired.
I think I'll improvise.
It's weird. I feel like Renoir's drafts are like designed for you to only experience it after you've been here. That's where you fight the much nastier creation.
Nice.
They probably also should have suspended all of the like barks for picking up items in this zone. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if they had gated it a little bit, I think they definitely fell victim to the open world problem of like, oh look, there's this big world now and you can go wherever you want. And it's like, okay, but like if I go wherever I want, I'm gonna ruin like 80% of the content in the process, right? They should have done a thing where they were like, okay, you can go visit this area, but you have to, you know, go beat the flying snake to open this door or whatever, right? Right. Yeah, because you can come here instantly at the start of Act 3, right? But then there's a pretty substantial amount of content elsewhere in the world. Because, like, it's so weird. Final Fantasy VI, like, you get, what is it? It's Setzer, Celeste, and Sabin, and Edgar. I guess you don't even need to get Sabin, right? It's just Edgar is mandatory. And they're like, okay, well, now you can go fly to fight Kefka. And you're like, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to get fucking destroyed if I do, right? Like, beating Kefka's tower with just those 3 characters is like a challenge run thing. It's not something that a normal player would ever attempt.
Papa's over there.
The reason you go out searching for friends is because you need to, like, get strong enough to go actually survive the dungeon. And then the dungeon's actually pretty hard. Like, you can definitely be strong enough that you overpower a lot of the stuff in Kefka's tower, but it's not, like, completely free.
Sense him.
Yeah, that would make sense.
We'd better make sure we're ready.
Like, what if Breath of the Wild was balanced so that going and fighting Ganon immediately was, like, the intended path through the game? And that 99% of players end up walking in and just stabbing him once and winning? Oh, cool.
Papa?
Alicia.
Please, I just want you to understand what this canvas means to me.
I do understand. I know how powerful and intoxicating it is. How deeply attached we can become to the worlds we pour our hearts and souls into. I was enthralled, and it nearly killed me.
Doesn't mean you have to erase Verso's canvas.
Child, do you think I want to? After all the sorrows we've endured, do you really think that I want to destroy this last piece of his soul?
Then don't.
Life keeps forcing cruel choices. We do what we must.
Because we can.
Grief often blinds us, and we make choices we can never take back.
This is the part of the
You
game where everyone
grieve
should
for
weigh
two.
in, right?
I grieve for many.
The choices of parents leave indelible marks upon their children. But ultimately, the voices in their head have to be their own. You cannot set the boundaries of their life for them.
I like what they're saying here.
After the fire, you wanted me to.
You want to like
find
just like outright state your
new
themes. This is
joy
the time to
in
do
life.
it, and they're doing great.
And I tried. But I couldn't. Verso died because of me. How do I get from that to joy?
Child, it will get better, I promise you. But this is not the way. Your friends speak truth, and it changes nothing. You can hate me, but that's a choice I must make. As your father, I must look out for you, especially when you can't look out for yourself.
You treat me as if I'm still 5.
I treat you as if the shadow from the worst day of our lives is going to suffocate you and take you from us too!
There's supposed to be background music in this scene. I only asked because they're like adding these like sound effects flourishes that sound like they would make more sense with music.
I said enough.
Oh, there it is. Okay. But Mile, you can go in the back. Sorry I didn't put all my points in you. They didn't let me respec to move stuff around. I would have thought about it. Okay. I think we're fine. I'll bring Seren back. Okay.
Stop this insanity. It's time to go home.
I do
Yeah, he
love
works for me.
revenge, but this is beginning to irk me.
Fuck. He keeps regenerating.
Maybe we focus on the axons first.
No, she can't.
Mama.
Aline, you're going to kill yourself. It's too soon for you to return to any canvas.
Yeah, right. He keeps regenerating. The song's really good.
Last-ditch effort.
I guess he gets a turn no matter what.
How could you be this selfish, Aline?
Oh yeah, this thing. He lives in the Survivor's scripted event zone.
Put aside the canvas. It's killing you both.
Not this time!
Oh, that's cool. Maybe the most important boss to, like, scale based on the amount of content you did. I feel like that's something they could even, like, patch in at this point. Like, I don't think it would be that much work to sit down and just... Like, is there already a player mod that does that? Even if you just pick a few really important story bosses, like the Axons, right? The Paintress.
Myself in a canvas.
Just kind of do some math based on number of chromatics killed, I guess.
She taught me how to safely use our gift.
Ah, that solution is so bad.
Sore.
Hurts me. It actually hurts me. I can't think... Like, doing nothing is better than that, I think. That it's almost like... I think it's like... Fuck you. We don't care. How dare you ask?
Canvas worlds. Pushing the very boundaries of creation. And she never let me forget that every day we spent here has a price.
I'm not saying fuck you to the devs. I'm saying that them adding that sounds like them saying fuck you to the players.
Yet, here
If she's doing this, then...
I trust what she taught me. This is not a game. You think you know what's at stake, but you don't.
I know precisely what's at stake. You want control. You want to feel like you're doing something. You couldn't save Verso, so you want to save us. Except you're not. Destroying the canvas won't help us move on. It'll just deny us the one place that helped us feel again.
67 years. 67 years I spent trapped within the monolith. But I persisted. I persisted. Do you know why? Do you know why I cannot leave her or you behind?
He's just like us.
This is what I see every day.
Did they ever clarify how old Versa? Well, I guess age does, because they're like
Another
basically
day
gods,
with
essentially.
living corpses.
Just
Since
curious
the
how old
fire,
Versa was when Versa died in
our
the fire.
family has crumbled. Aline in the canvas. Clair fighting a solitary war. You, a living ghost. Verso's death broke us. Want it to be fixed. I need it to be fixed.
26, interesting.
I cannot lose you too.
Don't you see? That's how I feel about them. I can't lose them either.
He's gonna say some shit about, well, they're not real. It's like, what is real, bro?
I've lost too much. Papa, see? I've lost so much.
We both lost so much.
Papa, I don't want to lose you either. I'm not leaving you forever. Just a little longer.
I want to trust you, but
You can.
The 33rd of December.
keep the light on for you. I hope you find peace. Hold on to each other.
Verso!
I'm sorry.
The end. We. Was that like a light the flame decision? Whoops. Okay, just making sure. I just noticed that it had leave as an option because that just means like explore this area more, not like those are actually two choices. Yeah. Given how much other Soulsy stuff in here, I was like, oh, are we doing Link the Fire, keep painting? It would be, I'm glad they didn't do that because it would be weird. I feel like the game is pretty thoroughly landed on the side of like escape is okay, right? Just because it's fictional doesn't mean it's not real, blah, 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 blah. So at the last second to be like, wait, was Renoir right the whole time? Would be odd. I think it's important that a game like Dark Souls entertains both questions, right? And it's pretty clear that like not linking the flame is the decision that Miyazaki et al. Endorse, but they at least present the game where you could play it and not come to that same conclusion and not feel like stupid as a result.
Why did you run in? It's dangerous for you here.
See things as they are, not how you want them to be.
What?
You lied to your father.
No.
He saw it too. But he wanted to believe. You're going to die here. Why don't you just leave? You can always come back.
The moment I leave, Papa will erase this canvas.
This is not worth your life.
What life? My life of loneliness in a shell of a body, with no voice and no future.
You're my El. No matter where you are, you don't need this canvas.
But everything I want is here. Here I have a chance to live, Verso to live. Out there I merely exist.
Life keeps forcing cruel choices.
Stop quoting Papa!
It's gonna work, I think, if it's like Verso making the choice.
Verso! Papa also said, hold on to each other.
I'm sorry.
I'm reserving judgment because I need to see where they take this to the very end here. Oh, that's cool. Decide the fate of the canvas. Well, I guess they are giving me the choice after all. Well, I put all my points in Verso. It's kind of cool to present it that way if you play as one character or the other. I guess in like the Dark Souls metaphor, Verso is the, you know, don't link the flame choice. Because like here, you know, it's you kind of have this like permanent undeath, this like world where everything is always fine. You don't have to like accept the consequences and move into a new world where things have changed. I kind of wish the game was more about this though. I'm not mad about it, I guess. But I feel like the game has been pushing so hard for Team Mael to like kind of like question it at the last second feels odd to me. Especially for Verso. Let's do this as where I put the points, but... It's actually kind of the opposite of Dark Souls, because I feel like Dark Souls is... We're going to tell you that your objective is to link the flame, and say, like, that's obviously that's the good guy thing to do, right? And we're going to have a lot of stuff in the game that's, like, reinforcing, like, that's what this is all about, this is what you're doing, this is the point. But we're also going to have a ton of stuff that makes you go, maybe linking the flame is bad, actually, right? Maybe that's just, like, allowing the status quo to exist forever. Maybe that's not actually doing any good, you know what I mean? Maybe, like, change, revolution is better than stagnation. This game, it feels like it starts from the position of being told we should, you know, destroy the canvas. And then, like, constantly building the argument, no, actually, maybe this is fine. And then at the last second, you're like, wait, no, maybe actually we should just destroy the canvas, right? It was to bring up Ursula Le Guin a second ago to talk about her commentary on escapism.
Don't do this. Don't leave me again.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, huh? You've got this incredible power to paint. You'll never have to suffer a life you don't want. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
I like the soul and spirit of what they're doing here, because I do think it is an interesting question. It's like, you know, should she be allowed to stay in this place in kind of a form of undeath forever, right? Or should she be forced to move on? It's just, I think that conflict works better in Dark Souls because we don't have a character monologuing one or the other to us. I guess you get, like, Kingseeker Framp or whatever. But they're not, like, positioned so forward in the story the way that Renoir is in this. Especially since he's, like, constantly presented to you as an antagonist, you know what I mean?
I will miss you guys.
I guess this isn't, like, terrible, in my opinion. I just think it could have been a little bit better supported in the text. I get what they were going for, I can see that, and, like, okay.
It's okay. It's...
Yeah, wouldn't they both be the bad ending? It's fine with both endings being kind of bad, right? They're obviously going for Dark Souls. They've got a lot here that kind of shows that inspiration on their sleeve. I think the problem for me, though, is that the vibe I've been getting outside of like the aesthetics that are interested in Dark Souls and things like going and fighting Simon, feeling like dropping in the abyss and fighting Manus or whatever. I don't think overall the theme of the game has been about undeath. That's been something that makes it very not Souls-like, right? Because like that undeath theme is in Lies of P, it's in Nine Souls, it's in Hollow Knight, it's in basically every other Souls, like whether it's from FromSoft or not. It's an interesting idea to be like, is a painting kind of like a way of keeping something that's gone away alive forever, and is that actually a good thing? Like, that's a fun question to ask, but I don't think that that's been like the thrust of the themes of the game up to this point. I've been reading it more as like a, yes, this is fiction, yes, these people aren't real, but like, who cares? Who cares that it's not the real Verso, right? Like, he's real to Mael, and that's what matters. Yeah, yeah. I've actually been like fully on board with all of their story decisions so far. Like, take me for this ride, I get what you're doing. And that was the first time where I felt like, well, this is probably here. It's one of those things where I wonder how early they wanted that to be the final decision. Like, when in the ideation process did they say, well, we want it to be like Dark Souls, and Dark Souls has this like Link the Flame choice at the end. So do we keep or destroy the canvas is going to be our Dark Souls choice. And they had committed to that because it is a powerful choice, and I think I get it if you think of it as a standalone thing. But then the story kind of developed in a different direction after that, and they didn't change what they originally planned. That's how you get the death date. Oh, 100%. That's the same for Souls, right? Like, when we talk about, you know, should we keep Anor Londo around? Should we keep the lights on in Anor Londo? Should we, you know, restore the order that Gwyn brought to the world? It's also kind of a theme of grief. It's like mourning for this world that's like holding on, that never seems to like fully die and go away. Like I said, I don't think it's like terrible or anything, but it's the first time where like I didn't feel pulled along by the story, where I'm like just completely bought in and like unquestioning of where they're going with it. It's the first time I'm like, oh, I wish that was set up better. It's a good way to put it, this name, yeah. I really like starting you with Gustav. Like, you are one of these fictional beings, right? You kind of have this, like, you know, what happens if you meet your creator? It's cool. I said I have to think about it more to try to figure out where my gripe is with. It might be with, we just fought Renoir, right? And Renoir just monologued at us about why he wants to make this choice. And we fight him like full-throatedly rejecting him, and then like we see something that makes us change our mind in an instant. You know what I mean? I would almost prefer that that choice happened before the final dungeon, right? Or Renoir be like mindless and incapable of monologuing at you at the end. That's kind of the Dark Souls solution. Like when you go to fight the final boss of Dark Souls 1 and 2, like Gwyn doesn't just start like explaining to you why you should link the fire. He just like comes up and attacks you, right? So you could walk into Gwyn's chambers fully intending to link the flame, and then during the boss fight realize I don't want to anymore, right? He's just like a mindless hollow. What's the point of all this? I'm actually getting to see some concept art here, very pretty. So I really liked Expedition 33 on the whole. I think the kindest thing I'm able to say about a game after finishing it is that I have no notes. And maybe the next kindest thing I can say is I have a fucking shitload of notes. I'm never going to make a video essay about Expedition 33, but I have a 4-hour video essay in my head about this game. But I still really, really, really enjoyed it, right? Despite having notes on virtually every choice they made, I think the game is still really, really good and deserves all of the praise that it's gotten. I think the story is outstanding. The soundtrack is really good. There are aspects of the art that I like. There are aspects of it that seem inextricable from what feels like procedurally generated dungeon design that make me like the art direction a bit less. Because I always play games like this as a game first, right? And this game had remarkably high highs, some of the highest highs I've had in games in a long time. This is a JRPG that got my heart rate up, which that's never happened before. That was pretty cool. That usually only ever happens in like Souls games. And I wouldn't say it has remarkably high highs and low lows. I don't think it has any lows. I think it has remarkably high highs and remarkably mids, right? The mids are extremely mid. And I think that probably the worst thing going for it is that the dungeon design is kind of incomprehensible. And that would be fine if the dungeon design wasn't where you spent a really big percentage of your time. But unfortunately you do. Like a lot of the time is just running around dungeons and kind of getting lost in them. And we've already talked at length in the playthrough about like what steps I would take to address that. I think there's all sorts of things you could do to make it better. If anyone ever finds out for certain whether procedural tools were used to make the levels to begin with and then they added art on top of it, or proof that it was all like deliberately authored and just kind of baffling in the way it's laid out, I'd love to hear it in the future. But I'm going to progress with the assumption that they like use some tools to make the dungeon shapes for them, didn't particularly edit those shapes too much before they started adding art on top of it, and the resulting dungeon design is just kind of a mess. I think that the parry system is really cool, and that the build system is really cool, and I like both of them if I could consider them in isolation from each other, but it's unfortunately impossible to consider them in isolation from each other because they have enormous anti-synergy with each other. The decision to make parrying cause you to take 0 damage is a cool one, and I think a cool one especially in a game that they commit to you need to parry to play this game successfully, right? And we have 1,000 different pictos from which you and almost no constraints about what you're allowed to build, right? We have all these pictos, and really the only restriction we've instituted is you can't get more than 2 turns in a row. Other than that, everything stacks, and it always stacks in the most mathematically advantageous way. That's a fun idea for a game like this, and the game does frequently have content that I think warrants the ridiculous power level that you can get to with those build options. But anytime that they let you pick your own path, well, I can't say this isn't true for the whole game. I do think that until maybe the Lamplighter fight, and especially before the Paintress, it felt like I was consistently doing side content. I was consistently fighting chromatic bosses, And while they were getting slightly easier over time, I didn't feel like I was just completely stomping everything until around the end of Act 2, like 60% of the way through Act 2. That's when it started to kind of collapse for me, where I was just loading into every fight and one-shotting it, right? And then in Act 3, it became very hard. I don't even... Did I get a single Goldilocks Zone Act 3 fight? I guess the Lamplighter, kind of. I was like, I'm going to leave Simon for a few minutes because I want to go get some more Luminous so I can equip things that give me a high speed stat so he doesn't get too many turns. And in the process of leaving for a few hours to do that, I came back and essentially one-shot him, right? Yeah, Oskio is pretty close. I'd agree with that. I still think I beat him faster than I was intended to because I only had to learn to avoid his attacks one time. Although I would say that giving the boss 3 actions in a row and needing to be able to parry literally all of them at least once is a good target, I think. It's kind of hard to develop toward. You have to sort of cheat your way in there by having like scripted don't die events or having the Lamplighter respawn thing, right? Only use your starter Pokemon, give him all the rare candies, breaks the game. Yeah, it's possible I was especially broken. It's possible or even likely that I should have played on hard, but my brain chemistry can't make that kind of decision. And I don't like being asked to make that decision for the reasons I've outlined, that like the time when I know the least about how I want to play the game is on the title screen. And I would never change it mid-playthrough because that feels like even worse than making the decision on the title screen. So I kind of wish they just said our recommended difficulty is hard, because I think it's more reasonable to ask most people to play it. This is the way we designed it. This is the way we intended it to be played, and then drop it down. But it sounds like people were saying that even if I was on hard, I probably still would have one-shot the Paintress, right? With the build that I came up with. Maybe she would have gotten like a turn off or something. Yeah. You were on curve till Lumière, which you raffle stomped. Yeah, and like to be like super clear, that I've said this with some of the YouTube comments and like Kami's comments earlier, that like I enjoyed becoming busted. That's part of the game, right? Like if you're going to praise Expedition 33 and say it's really good, part of praising it is saying you can get really strong in this game if you play it well and you make good build decisions. And so I felt like I was being rewarded for making good build decisions. It's just, to me, because they have this thing where they have both the parry system and the build system, my reward for building smartly and building in a way that was really strong is necessarily going to have this trade-off of now all the fights are trivial and now I'm not in the Goldilocks zone for the majority of the game. I think probably the peak of the game for me was the Sprong fight, doing that early before Paintress's power. I'm not sure how many people even fight Sprong for that long and have to learn all those attacks, but that was really cool, and I had a blast with it. It felt like it was perfect with the number of shields I had, right? I still had 9 shields, but he hits you so many times that doesn't get you to the end of the fight until you've really learned all of his attacks, so... hard might have delayed the spike, but I would have gotten there anyway. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the game is strongest in its story. It blows JRPGs out of the water. It blows probably 90% of JRPGs out of the water, right? I think that thematically, as much as I love Final Fantasy VI, and I love a lot of what Final Fantasy VI is saying, I think that probably my favorite Final Fantasy thematically is 10. I think it has a really great message about the status quo, right? The old holding on to power, whether we should fight for change or continue to support the old way of doing things. I think that every scene in that game does a great job of reinforcing its themes. And I think that until the very last thing that happens in Expedition 33, I would say the same about this one. I would be interested to hear if we know any behind the scenes about the final choice, if that was something that they had planned from the very beginning and then kind of went in a different direction with the story cutscenes and the social links with the other party members. It feels like there was a lot of stuff that was kind of non-negotiable from the beginning. Like, we're going to have social links and we're going to frame them as social links. which was good. I bet it ended up not really working like Persona, thank Christ. It ended up working like BioWare camp conversations, which are better than Persona social links, just strictly better. And I think all those camp conversations were really well written and really entertaining, and I was excited to see basically all of them. Yeah, what's the other ending? I'll probably just sit on this screen and talk a little bit more. The soundtrack's really strong too. I think that a lot of its game mechanics ideas are very ambitious. I had a lot of other stuff that I said earlier in the playthrough that I was hoping to say during the credits, but I've lost track of a lot of it now because there's just so much to say, right? It's like I have so many notes that it could be here for the next 2 hours and still be talking. I think one of the things I brought up is that I think that these devs, one of the most impressive things they pulled off is they are way scrappier than they appear to be. They are way closer to like like a really talented, gifted RPG maker developer than the final product makes them appear to be. And if I was playing the 2D sprite version of Expedition 33 in RPG Maker made by like a solo dev, I think I'd have basically nothing negative to say because it's like, I can't believe a single person did this. This is insane, right? But it is like a really big team. It needs a really big team to be able to put something like this out there and to seem so much like a AAA game in its visuals and its systems, right? The endings themselves are framed differently. Both are cruel, but the Verso one feels bittersweet. The Mile ending feels sinister. Interesting. To me, it felt like Mael is Link the Flame, right? Maybe it's not fair to just say, oh, it's just the Dark Souls decision, but I mean, it kind of is, right? At the last second, it's like, now this is about undeath versus moving on. I guess I had just wished that moving on was better supported in the main text until the very end. Verso's defeated, he begs to die in a gut-wrenching performance. Oh, that's really fucked up. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I would expect if keeping the canvas is linking the flame, right? It's like, let's keep this... That sort of tips their hand, in my opinion. And it's okay for them to tip their hand. They should have a position. I don't think they should say, well, these are two really interesting choices. Which one should you pick, right? That's fucking annoying. I hate when developers do that. And it's my opinion that Miyazaki and the Souls developers are very much on the side of don't link the flame. Like, in fact, Dark Souls 3 this is what happens when you link the flame 10 trillion times, right? There's nothing left. Versus broken. Yeah. To me, that sounds like they're definitely saying, yeah, definitely destroy the canvas. But, like, are they then saying that Renoir has been right the whole time? I guess that's interesting if it's true. Would you like to vote on an ending? Yeah, I can see the addiction metaphor, right? Like... And I think that that's an interesting take on art. If you're saying that, like, art is fundamentally an escape, and you can get addicted to an escape, right? And that can be bad because you're not moving on, you're not going through something difficult, you're just kind of existing in the state of escape forever. The Verso ending won by 4-1. I think it could have been interesting if they had done a thing where they're like, inside the canvas actually wants destruction and outside the canvas wants to keep it by, right? Like that, like almost I just say that out loud and I got like chills because I feel like that's kind of the right direction to go, right? Is you have these people on the outside who like, I need to keep this thing. I need to keep this thing forever because it's my only memory of this person who is important to me. And then the people inside the canvas are like, no, you need to move on. Like, to me, that would have been more thematically resonant to me if Renoir was the opposite. If instead of Renoir taking the position of the like wise fatherly figure that we need to move on from this, was like, no, I can't let Verso go. He's the one saying I can't let Verso go, and Mael, reincarnated in the painting alongside Verso, are like, no, you have to let him go. Like, that sounds fucking rad. Maybe that's just it, that they just put Renoir on the wrong side of the equation. Oh, sure. Yeah, when I said earlier, like, I don't hate this conceptually, what I mean to say is that I think the question that they've raised is a good one. And like there is certainly merit, and when we're talking about art, it's not great if the art is like, oh, what was the right answer? We can obviously see what the developers think the right answer is, and that's fine. Like I said, it's fine for Miyazaki to be like the flame or not, but I think you shouldn't. Yeah. I think that if the whole game was Renoir being the one being like, I'm doing all of these things, I'm deleting, Gustav, I'm deleting this person because I have to keep this painting going forever. That I think is more consistent with the way the power dynamic is structured in the Souls games. If their objective is to be like a Souls game, they don't have to directly recreate it. Maybe they're actually trying to do the opposite. They're like, we don't want it to all be 1-to-1 to Souls. So that's why we're going to have Renoir take the, destruction position. Maybe that's more interesting. Yeah, the child, the Omelas child. Well, that's interesting to me. The reason I was originally going to bring up Le Guin before the credits wasn't to talk about Omelas, but to talk about her. It's like an essay she wrote about escapism and how she gets frustrated at society for deriding escapism, because she's like, escaping is about imagining something better instead of just like putting up with the status quo. And I was like, that's really cool. I think that's a neat idea. And then at the end, it kind of becoming Omelas at the last second. It was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I guess you run into the little painter boy all the time, and then you're kind of led to believe that that's representing Verso, right? Maybe like you play it again and the stuff he says. I wish Verso was kind of coming to terms with this decision for longer in the game instead of making it split second at the end. It felt like it was kind of abrupt that he kind of changed tack. Right. Pouty faces in every cutscene since Act 2. And maybe it's that they like tip their hand too hard, if that's how the other ending goes. It's interesting though. This isn't a wow, the Expedition 33 devs really fucked up their ending. Like, it's nothing like that. It's just making me wonder, like, if you want that to be where we end up, is there something you can change about the main track of the game so that it's not super obvious what the devs want you to pick? You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's good discourse, too. I think I've covered all my other thoughts, though. Not in the form of a 4-hour video essay. The luminous menu is annoying. Dungeon design is... It's not that it's bad. It doesn't exist. It's not designed. It feels like it's randomly determined. When it's good, it feels amazing. When you're in the Goldilocks zone, it's super good, but they didn't really develop tools to put you in the Goldilocks zone. And while they probably had a lot of options to do those things, they could have done scaling based on how many bosses you killed, or had like a more robust kind of Final Fantasy X style monster arena at the end. I was like, okay, now go fight all these bosses, and they're actually tuned for an endgame challenge. They didn't really seem interested in keeping you in the Goldilocks zone. That didn't seem to be like one of their priorities for making the game. I had said earlier in the playthrough that they need to have some hatred in their heart or some dissatisfaction in their heart, right? That they can't just play only amazing games and only implement their favorite features from those amazing games. They have to have something that bothers them about some of those games to kind of inspire them to make it better. I feel like what they could have done is they could have been annoyed with Miyazaki. They could have been like, no, I want to link the fire, and here's why. Maybe that's not the best example of something they should push back on, because I think Miyazaki's completely right that the status quo is bad and we should reject it. You know what I mean? But even they're like kind of still saying, this is something we love about Dark Souls. We're going to take that too and do it basically beat for beat, you know? Yeah, it would have hit more if they left it ambiguous whether Mael would succumb. I agree with that. It sounds like they were pretty on the nose with it. Because, like, the thing with Dark Souls 1, there's, like, like, the ending is, like, and then you get engulfed in flame, and then you walk outside, and then credits roll. And, like, the consequences of that are kind of left up to you to decide. Like, well, is the Age of Dark good? Probably not. It probably also sucks in a different way, but they don't like show us a vision of this is what the Age of Dark looks like. It's just that then you play Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 and you're like, oh, this is what's left of the world after linking the flame. Okay. I guess people are still around. I guess there's still fire. Maybe that's a good thing, depending on your position on it. I think that maybe the story does such a good job overwhelmingly because it feels like it's not driven as much by we're doing this because it's in this thing that we like. It does feel like it's its own idea and it has its own things to say about art and the purpose of art and like fiction and whether dreaming is different from reality, right? That is a good question, this name. Yeah, I think that it's hard to say this because I have the context of the later Souls games to inform my opinion of Dark Souls 1, but I think that like the item descriptions and like the way that Anor Londo is false, that Gwendolyn is like conjuring this like false sunlight, does favor the idea that just linking the flame is stupid. You know, it's just keeping the status quo going for no reason. But that position is definitely like made super clear with the sequels. Yeah, I think the story ends up being so strong because I don't think it's driven by, we need to do this because this other game did this. It doesn't feel like you're playing a Souls game from a story perspective at all. It feels like, no, it's the story about, you know, the paintress and this painting that all these fictional characters are in. And this idea of, like, you know, people get deleted while they're still young, so no one gets to experience old age. You're saying themes of grief, themes of addiction. Stuff that doesn't like directly map to Souls, and then at the last second, and here's the thing that, and now this has all been a Souls game all the whole time, you're like, okay. I don't know if they could have done it with item descriptions. I don't know if they could have done it. They do a lot with the expedition logs. I guess the expedition logs are kind of this game's version of item descriptions if they're trying to like give you the point of view of the people that are inside the painting. But the point of view of the people that are inside the painting is that I want to live, I think, right? Which is why I feel like that's what they're building toward with the story is this, like, yeah, this place isn't real, but who cares? Like, what even is real? Like, so what if I'm still dreaming? Like, dreams are real too. You know, to me, I felt like the game was building to the Inception ending, right? Where he has the top that's spinning, and we don't see whether the top falls down or not because the point is that it doesn't matter, right? Whether it's a dream or not, he's just going to live in it. I thought that's kind of what they were building to thematically, and then kind of at the last second to be like, actually, it's about whether this is about escapism or you know, moving on or you know, keeping things the way they are versus moving into a dangerous new world, right? It just didn't feel like that's what it was building up to the whole time, in my opinion. What if God was just a grieving, dysfunctional family? Yeah, I really like that stuff. I think the entire, like, Act 3 twist is not only really well done and very much in service of what they were building up to that point, but also extremely well foreshadowed. It's not like an ass pull. It's not like, oh shit, idiot, it was all a dream the whole time. It's like, well, obviously it's a dream. You know what I mean? So that's why I felt like just like that final decision was the first time that I wasn't just like in the river submitting to the story where I was like, hey, wait a minute, why are we doing this all of a sudden? That doesn't seem like that's what you were talking about before. But I don't think that it has to be one thing or the other. It can be both things. It can be all of these themes simultaneously, and they're all worth entertaining. But to kind of make that the fulcrum of the very last choice, and then to have these like two very disparate endings where they put their whole body on the scale as to which one they think is the good ending and which one they think is the bad ending. I just think they could have backed it up a little bit better. But like most of my complaints with the game, none of them are like, and now this game is dog shit. It's like the game still rules. It's really good. It's a 9 out of 10. And like the 1 out of 10 is something that you break up into a billion little complaints all throughout the game that keep it from being perfect. It's like, I think that part of what drives me nuts with this game is so close to perfection in every possible category where it's like, guys, you could have just done a couple things a little bit differently. You know, there are some games where it's like the thing that's wrong with it is just this like fundamentally broken thing where there's like nothing you could have done to even recognize that your idea was busted or cursed. I guess the only aspect that's kind of like that is the anti-synergy between the parrying system and the build system. That is kind of a fundamentally cursed idea, but like you could still say, well, fuck it, we're going to try it anyway. We're still going to try to make it work. And then you have to ask questions like, well, what contradictions does that produce? It produces this contradiction where the parrying kind of doesn't matter because I'm so powerful that the boss gets one shot, or the building doesn't matter because I can just be at 1 HP all the time and parry everything, so it doesn't matter whether if I put points in anything other than offensive things. You know what I mean? It kind of seems like they just put those two things in the game and then just weren't interested in trying to fix the contradiction. They're like, whatever, who cares? We just wanted it to have Sekiro parrying, and we wanted it to have this crazy FF9 plus Path of Exile build system, and no, we're not interested in, you know, how they disagree with each other. Not just the last choice, the only choice. Yeah. True. Telling the truth to Mael is the preferred one, right? That's the only one that gets you more stuff. So you tell her the truth that you let Gustav go, and that gets you stuff, but lying doesn't. I'm just wondering, is that thematically consistent with the ending choice that they think is better? I guess so. I'll think on it more. I unfortunately have this problem as a streamer because I only ever play games once. I have a lot of fucking staircase wit about games. Like 98% of my opinion on Disco Elysium is stuff that I've had from thinking about Disco Elysium constantly for years since playing it. Disco Elysium is like one of the best games I've ever played. It's like changed my life path in a lot of really substantial ways. And I will never allow myself to go watch whatever I said during the credits of that game because I certainly had no idea what the fuck I was talking about at the time because I had to let it sit with me and think about it for weeks and months and years, right, to kind of like develop my position. I had to watch other people play it, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's going to be similar with this one where I'm going to have a very different position on Expedition 33 in 4 years. So maybe they'll release a sequel and then I'll be able to talk about it more then, right? That would be nice. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get that opportunity with Disco. But yeah, it's been a great time. I really did like this game a lot. Thanks for voting it up. I mean, obviously I enjoyed it because I did every last possible piece of side content except for the kind of Blood from a Stone stuff at the very end. And I apparently did too much of it. I like the game too much. Usually the complaint is, why didn't you just do the side quest streamer? Why did you rush to the end game? And this time I did everything and that ruined it, so can't win. But Expedition 33, great game.